Hey there, welcome back to another video. We're going to do another Python challenge. Let's get started. So we'll open the prompt just like we've been doing. We'll follow the same prompt that we've done the past few times here. Eventually we will change up the prompt, maybe do something a little bit more difficult, but I think for a while this will do just fine for us. So you are tasked with writing a Python function that calculates the total cost of items in a shopping list. Each item has a name, quantity, and price per unit, and your function should return the total cost rounded to 2 decimal places. So write a function, calculate total cost with the shopping list as a parameter, or an argument, I guess you could say, that takes in a list of dictionaries. Each dictionary represents an item with the following keys: name, quantity, price per unit, and the function should calculate the total cost by multiplying the quantity by the price per unit of each of the items and summing these values. Okay, so for example, we would take shopping list, cost, and it would take each quantity and each price per unit, and it would calculate them. Okay. Our constraints assume the input will always be a list of dictionaries. Each dictionary will always have the keys, so we don't have to do any like error handling or anything for that, I think. Quantities will always be non-negative integers, and prices will always be non-negative floats. And then return the result rounded to 2 decimal places. Do not use any external libraries. So don't load it into, like pandas or polars or something like that and try to do it. Okay. Sounds good. So let's see. We will make a directory, shopping cost, I think is what we'll call this one. And let's go ahead and open VS Code. So like before, we'll make a challenge text where we'll paste this. We'll make a main.py, which will be our main file. Split to the right for simplicity here. Okay. So we'll start with the if name. We'll do this first. And I don't know how I managed to start a breakpoint there, but that's fine. And this function is going to be called calculate total cost, and we're passing the shopping list, which is a dictionary that has string int float in it, and it will return a float. We're going to try really hard to make sure we're using type hinting and such for this one. Okay, so I think that puts us in a good spot. So we are going to pass in the shopping list. We essentially need to take all of the items, all the quantities, and multiply that by all the price per units. Okay, so let's move this one over. And we will do calculate total cost. Shopping list is what we will pass in, and we'll assign this to a variable total cost. Makes sense, I think. Okay, so how do we do this? I think this can be a one-liner, actually. I think this would be pretty quick. So my initial thought is that we would take shopping list, and we know it's always going to have quantity and always going to have price per unit in this case. So I think we can do quantity and then do shopping list price per unit. And we can assign this to cost. And I think we can actually just return costs on this. And let's print total cost. Yeah, would be helpful if we made the function correctly. Also, I'm once again in my non-global environment, which I'd prefer to be. So it must be integers or slices, not strings. Okay. So I think that's because it is a list of dictionaries. So I think if we actually do this, we step into the list and we get back 2. That doesn't do all of it though, right? So that doesn't quite get us where we want. Because really what we want is... Okay, so this is multiple dictionaries, and this is just the first dictionary. So I think we're going to need a loop for this. So for in shopping list, and we're just going to do a 0 index on this, specifically so that we step into the list before we start iterating over the dictionaries. I'm going to put rows, maybe something like that. I don't want to use dict, just because I think it'll be confusing. So total cost equals 0. We had something similar to this when we did the sum on one of the previous challenges. So I feel like there's got to be an easier way than what I'm about to do, but I think this will still work. So for each row, we'll do rows quantity times rows price per unit. And when we go and look at ChatGPT, I think we're going to be like, wow. Or at least I'm going to be like, wow, I'm dumb. But we'll see. I mean, this is part of learning, is we're trying to solve it, and it may not always be the best solution or the most optimized solution, but then we can learn from it and kind of update our experience. And then hopefully next time we run into something similar, we've got a new tool or a new approach that we can utilize for it. So this is my thought. We'll iterate through each of the dictionaries. We'll get this. We'll return total cost in this case, and then we'll print total cost. So we're kind of in the same boat here. Let's print rows. Maybe I'm making some kind of assumption. That is not what I expected. I did not expect that. That's what I expected. Okay, so the indexing is an issue here. Okay, so I think if we do this, then we get 5. The problem now is we're going to add the round to the 2. We only get 5 total and not the estimated 510. Let me do the math on my phone real quick just to make sure that maybe we didn't get the wrong information here from ChatGPT. So yeah, I get 5, not 510. So I think it's actually incorrect from this perspective. I think this is wrong. Okay, so let's take a look again, multiplying the total cost per price, summing these values, which we do. Again, I think there's a easier way to go about this, but maybe we'll see here in a second. Do not use external libraries to 2 decimal places. Okay, I think this is everything that we need in this case. So if you haven't already done it and you're going to do it on your own, then I think now's a good time to to pause. Well, I assume you've already done it actually. What am I saying? But if you haven't done it, maybe pause for a moment, think through the solution. Maybe you have a different way that you would approach it. Maybe you have a better way to get the values here before we look at the solution that we're provided. All right, so let's see. So good docstring, something we should be adding to our functions here. So for item and shopping list, to my surprise, it actually does the same. Okay. And then it just does total cost. I think that makes sense to do the rounding at the end. Does that change the output? Like, is it rounding? No, it doesn't. Okay. I was going to say, is it rounding off something that would change the output? Let's respond. 5.10 is the wrong answer. So let's see. Yeah, 5. Okay. This is one of those scenarios where you got to be really, really careful. You can get really caught up. And this is, I think, one of the many reasons why people say it's really dangerous to just kind of blanketly copy paste code from these large language models. You got to be really careful. But I think what's important is to kind of understand what's going on in the code. So I'm happy to see that basically its approach is similar to ours. We just changed the rounding to round the final piece instead of the individual rows, which I think makes sense. And I think the only other things we could have done better here is add, more type hinting. We could have done a doc string would have been handy, right? And then other than that, I think we're in pretty good shape. So this was a pretty quick one. This one wasn't too bad at all. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any other challenges that you would like me to do, leave a comment. If you have another solution to this, maybe a different way, I'd be interested to hear it. If you have a solution using an external library, maybe something like pandas or polars, that would be cool too. If you want to share that, we didn't explore that here, but I know that would be a pretty popular way to go about these types of things too, because you could load this into a data frame and then do the calculation off of that, which is a great skill to have. So if that's the case, feel free to share that. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this. Feel free to give a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll catch you next time.